All right. God, shalom. All praise to the Most High for another Sabbath day. Another day we're able to rest, rest in the Lord, rest our mind from many mental burdens throughout the week, physically rest my bodies from any work. All praise to the Most High. Call it how about me shine. So let me share my screen. Yeah, if I sound nasally, just ignore it. Ignore it. Have mercy, because I don't feel 100%. But all praise Most High nonetheless. We get our foundational precept, 1 Corinthians 15 to 58. It reads, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." So today we're going to be going into time management. And I feel like our foundational precept goes beautiful with it because, we want to be able to manage our time well, be able to always be abounding in the work of the Lord while we handle, our day to day duties as well. Let's get our Psalm 92. All right, a psalm or song for the Sabbath day. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings, and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doth a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for lo, thine enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eye also shall see my desire on mine enemies, and mine ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree, he shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age, they shall be fat and flourishing, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. So, all praise to the Most High. So, yes, going into time management is going to be just a quick exhort because, especially as mothers, wives, just being in this truth, there is a lot of stuff that we tend to have to juggle. It might be a child, it might be children, it might be a job, it might be, just obviously, first and foremost, you're studying, praying, reading, all that. But I wanted to go into some tips in how to increase our time management skills and how to better manage our time and our responsibilities. Because if we have a lack of time management, then we're moving in a false way because we don't want to be so consumed in, okay, I gotta go to work, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta pay these bills, I gotta do this. I'm out here, I'm trying to go to this event, I got this business going on, whatever the case is, but we don't have any time for the Most High. This is Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So the Lord, he delights in a just weight. Something that is balanced out. It's not too much, it's not too little. So we have to find and ultimately pray to the Most High that He puts it in our spirit to have a just balance, to have good time management, to have good discipline in this truth, in this walk. Because as soon as we start to have a false balance and we're not praying as much, we're not fasting for real, we're not studying, we're not reading, we're not doing the works of the Lord, then that means that we're giving our time and our energy over to the world and not giving anything to the Most High. And Most High is the whole reason why we're even in this thing. So we don't want it to be a slap in the face of the Most High because, you know, at the end of the day, all these responsibilities are going to perish. All this stuff is not making it to the kingdom, to the world to come. So we're going to keep that in mind. And we got to know as well that, excuse me, that this discipline comes from the Most High. And let me get this in Sirach. Okay. It reads, "Whoso feareth the Lord will receive his discipline, and they that seek him early shall find favor." So we know we're in the last days. We know that the times that we're coming in are going to get worse and worse. But we want to be making sure that we're being good stewards of what the Most High has entrusted us with. So whether that be, you got a certain gift that you might, I don't know, sew for the congregation. You might make garments for the brothers. You might, cook for the feast days or whatever the case may be. Teaching the children, serving your husband, etc. We want to make sure that, in order to have that discipline, we have to fear the Lord first and foremost. Because if you don't fear the Lord, you're not going to be in your mind like, dang, I've been tripping. I have not been spending time with the Most High like I should have been. I really been having all my time go to watching TV or playing a game or, just playing with my children or whatever the case is, or working too much. We want to make sure that we have that fear of the Lord instilled in us, and in turn, we will have that discipline that comes from the Most High. Because when we fear the Most High, we're like, dang, I know the Lord, He doesn't like an unjust balance. I need to make sure that I'm reading the Word. I need to make sure that I'm praying to Him, make sure my prayers are heard. And with that comes that discipline to, okay, let me set these alarms in my phone. Let me set an alarm for the chief hour prayer, 3 o'clock. Let me go ahead and, be intentional. Let me set this certain block of time out for the Most High. Okay, I'm gonna read as soon as I get up. I'm gonna read as soon as I go to before I go to sleep. Doing these certain things are different ways to be disciplined in our walk with the Most High. Having a set schedule, a routine that you follow throughout the week, and also even having an accountability partner, getting up with sisters. Hey sis, I've been struggling with time management. Let's put a date on the calendar every, I don't know, Wednesday. We're gonna have Bible study together from 6 to 7 or whatever it is, however sisters want to do it. But there's different ways to hold ourselves accountable, to be disciplined, to be in alignment with what the Most High has for us. Because again, we gotta remember we're in a spiritual war. So we have to make sure that our spirit is aligning with the flesh, if that makes sense. So when I say that, meaning, okay, your spirit wants to be reading, praying, fasting. So you got to put your flesh in subjection. Okay, my flesh might want to sleep right now. It might want to rest. It's been a long day. But I'm still going to put my flesh in subjection because my spirit wants to read. Let me go in here. Let me read, these couple scriptures right quick. Let me read these couple chapters because I want to have that discipline. I want to make sure that I'm moving in the fear of the Lord, lest we get casted out. We don't want to be cast out. Lord forbid. We want to be in alignment with the Most High. We want to be in the Most High's presence always till Kingdom come. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're seeking the Most High early so we can find favor. And I want to pull this right here. Okay. This is just Google. It says effective time management strategies include the Pomodoro technique, time blocking. We just talked about that. And the Eisenhower matrix. These methods help you focus, organize your day, and get important work done. So the Pomodoro technique is you work for 25 minutes and then take a short 5-minute break. And this is feasible, okay? You can get up, okay, you might, I don't know, cook breakfast, okay? Breakfast take 25 minutes to cook, hopefully not longer than that. But, okay, you cook breakfast, you take a short 5-minute break, chill, maybe, read a scripture, just rest, get on your phone a little bit. Okay, after that 5-minute break, you get up, wash the dishes after breakfast. That's just an example. But the time blocking, we talked about that a little bit, but splitting your day into set segments of time. So that's having that schedule. Okay, 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever sisters get up, wake up, pray. Okay, from 9 to 10. Okay, we're going to have breakfast, listen to praise music. From 11 to 12, get ready to eat lunch and do a lesson with the kids, whatever the case may be. Splitting your time, your day into little segments of time so that okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. You just got to follow the schedule. And granted, everybody, has different, spirits, personalities, different things that they, can stick to, can't stick to, for lack of better terms. So there's different techniques to do because a sister may not have it to where she can have that set schedule every day because she might have other things that might be blocking that time. You might have to go to work from 8 to 5, so you can't really do the 9 o'clock. We do this 10 o'clock because you're gonna be at work. But that's where you got to just do what you can, whether it's waking up early, whether it's going to sleep later, just trying to maximize our days because we all get the same 24 hours. And sometimes it might just be okay, you're just sleeping in too long. Maybe you're going to sleep too early. You still got some stuff to do. Maybe you might need to stay up for an extra hour or two. But here's the next technique: eat the frog. Crazy name, but basically, do your hardest. Oops, sorry, y'all. Do your hardest or most dreaded task first thing in the morning. And I've actually tried this before, and it actually kind of does make a difference. I'm not gonna lie. Because when you do that first, most dreaded task first thing in the morning, then the rest of the day is kind of like smooth sailing. Like, okay, it might be, you have to sew fringes on 5 garments. You go ahead and do that first thing in the morning. The rest of the day, you kind of like, okay, this is smooth sailing. I got that out the way. Now I have time to, do some extra stuff here or extra stuff there. Okay, I can clean up here. I can deep clean over here because I've already got the first most important task done in the morning. Or it might be, okay, you have to pay some bills. Go ahead and knock that out first thing in the morning. So the rest of the day, you just doing light stuff, okay? Cooking, teaching the kids, whatever the case may be, going to work. So there's different ways we can approach it. And it says daily habits include prioritize tasks. So using the Eisenhower matrix to sort tasks by how urgent and important they are. So kind of like eating the frog, um, you know, doing a schedule that is based on how urgent and important they are. Like, okay, this has a time limit, this bill needs to be paid before the day ends. Let me go ahead and pay this. Okay, and we need to make sure that before the kids go down for a nap, they need to do X, Y, Z. Okay, let's do that, for example. And then the next one is stop multitasking. Focus on doing just one thing at a time to make fewer mistakes. And sometimes, we be all over the place. Not everybody, but sometimes, we could be all over the place if we don't have that structure and that schedule and that planned out idea or like a checklist, a to-do list for the day. And then we end up just doing, oh dang, well I forgot I gotta go water the plants. So dang, well I gotta go out here and I gotta make sure I clean, the kids' room. I gotta make sure that, I go out here and I make sure all the trash is taken out. I don't know, whatever. And now you're making, mistakes. Oh dang, I'm over here trying to water the plants and I'm moving too fast and trying to run back in the house and finish, make sure that the food not burning. Now you done burnt the food because you're doing this. All that multitasking isn't always helpful. Excuse me. So we gotta make sure that we're just slowing down and also not being afraid to make things more simple, because sometimes we can overcomplicate things. It might be due to seeing maybe how other sisters are doing. Like, dang, that sister, she made everything from scratch. She made homemade bread, she made homemade almond milk and homemade whatever the case is. And I'm just over here, I'm just buying stuff from the store. You don't want to compare. You want to make things simple enough for your household so that you can maximize your time. Because let's say you have 10 things to do on your to-do list. You gotta walk the dog, you gotta take the kids to school, you gotta go to work, you gotta do some grocery shopping, you gotta go over here and drop this package off, or whatever the case may be. And you're trying to add, okay, I need to make my home meal from scratch. I'm making homemade tortillas, and I'm gonna soak the beans, put some black beans. You're making it too difficult. It's just an example. You're making it too difficult. Get the canned black beans, buy the tortillas from the store. Let's not make life harder than it has to be. Obviously, we go through different seasons in this thing, and you might be in a season where, you might be, at home, you might not be working, you might be having, some extra funds, and you can do those type of things. Okay, I'm gonna make this from scratch. I'm gonna, start a garden and add this to it and that, and I'm gonna do this, and we can go here and there. You can do that, but that just comes with prayer and discernment. Like, okay, am I in the season to be doing X, Y, Z? Okay, if I am, okay, I'll praise the Most High. Let me do this. Let me, maximize my time with this. If not, it's still all praise the Most High. Let me focus on making things simpler for me so I can maximize my time and still have good time management. So, the last one is take breaks. Rest your brain often so you do not get too tired. So that just goes back into having that just balance. You don't want to overwork yourself to death just for the sake of, okay, looking busy or looking mighty, because rest is important too. Just like the Sabbath day. Rest is needed. The Lord knew that we needed the Sabbath day. We need rest. So do what you're supposed to do, handle your business the 6 days out of the week. On Sabbath day, relax, chill. You know, listen to your spirit, listen to your body. If you been real productive, then it's okay to take a little 5, 10, maybe an hour break, depending on how the day's going. You know, let's get some precepts. Let's get 1 Corinthians 4. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse. I'll start at 1. Let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. So, you want to be found faithful in whatever the Most High has entrusted you with. We all want to be faithful in the things that the Most High has entrusted us with. He's entrusted us with His truth. We're expected to be diligent, fire for the Most High, magnify the Most High's name, be blameless, keep these commandments, keep these laws. Love our brother, love our sister. Make sure that, if we've been blessed with, a husband, a household, make sure we're stewarding our house well, whether you live in somebody else's house, whether you live in a 1-bedroom, whether you live in a 10-bedroom, steward what we have according to the Most High, because our works is not in vain. Just like we read in our foundational precept, 1 Corinthians 15:58. Our work is not in vain, and how we take care of the things that the Most High has blessed us with, that all that is being recorded. How well we steward our house, dealing with our husband, dealing with our children, those things are being recorded. And we want to be found faithful in however little or however much we've been given. So it's important that we meditate on that so that we're not also taking, the things that we have for granted. You don't want to be, careless. We don't want to be careless with, the things the Most High bless us with. Like, okay, say you have a vehicle. You don't want to just not take care of the vehicle. Car need an oil change. You going, I don't know, 15,000 miles. Ain't been had an oil change. The car need coolant, or even just the car is dirty. You want to make sure we're taking. We want to make sure we're taking care of the things the Most High bless us with. And granted, life be life then, but that just comes with being intentional, maybe writing down a list or a reminder, put it in the calendar. Okay, this day we go clean the car. This day we go deep clean the fridge. This day we go, you know, vacuum the carpets, deep clean the carpets, whatever. But making sure that we're being good stewards over what the Most High has entrusted us with, even with our children. Making sure you're teaching them the law, such commandments, teaching them, hey, we got trumpets coming up, we got atonement coming up, we got this high holy day coming up. This is, the story of Jonah. This is the story of Job, whatever the case is. But making sure we're being a good steward over what the Most High has entrusted us with. And let's get this in Proverbs 19 and verse 15. It reads, we'll start at 14. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. So we want to be a prudent wife. We want to be able to see, okay, tomorrow I know I got to do this, this, and this. I need to do this to make this day go smoothly tomorrow. I need to make sure that this bill's paid. I need to make sure that, the kids are ready. We're about to go this place. I need to make sure that, okay, their hair is done. I need to make sure, that the house is clean before we go. Da, da, da. We want to make sure that we're being prudent, because a prudent wife is from the Lord. And if we're not prudent, then that means we're not moving right spirit. Verse 15, slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. So we don't want to be slothful. We don't want to be lazy women. We don't want to be, hating to do, certain tasks and duties. We want to be a good steward. We want to have a good spirit about, what we have to do. We don't want to be a complainer, a murmurer. Oh my gosh, I gotta go to work. Oh my gosh, I gotta take care of the kids. Oh my gosh, I gotta clean this house. I cleaned it already for the third time. Da, da, da. We want to make sure that we have a good spirit about what we do from day to day, because we're not doing it for, husband, or, for people who come over, or just your children. Yes, of course, we love them, but we gotta remember that first and foremost, we do all this unto the Lord, and we want to make sure that we have a good spirit about what we are doing, everything that we're doing, because we're supposed to be magnifying the Lord, and we don't want to move in a slothful or idle spirit and then be rooted out of the truth, uprooted out of the truth, because we didn't have a good spirit about being a good steward over our things, because we couldn't have good time management. We didn't make time for the Most High. We didn't make time to take care of the things the Most High gave us. The Most High can very well cast us into a deep sleep. Lord forbid, but it's in the scriptures, and He will be just for doing so, because we're playing games. We don't want to play games. And let me get this. Colossians. This is Colossians 3, since I quoted it. This is Colossians 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahushua, giving thanks to God and the Father by Him. So it says, whatsoever we do in word or in deed, whatever words we're speaking, whatever things we're doing, we're supposed to be doing it all in the name of Yahushua, giving thanks to Yahweh. So let's hit the next precept. Classic. Every sister, wants to be like the Proverbs 31 woman. This is verse 27. It reads, "She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness." So we don't want to eat the bread of idleness. We want to make sure that we're always looking well to the ways of our household. Again, whether that's making a schedule, doing a little to-do list, you check it off as you go. Even the methods we just read on Google, eating the frog, doing the hardest thing first, the first thing in the morning, making a time blocking, putting it on a schedule. Okay, maybe getting a little whiteboard and writing everything you need to have done before the day's over with. So let me get Ecclesiastes 10. Um, Ecclesiastes 10 and 18, it reads, "By much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through." So, especially as us being women, being, you know, co-managers of the house, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to not be moving in the spirit of idleness so that our house does not drop through, because we set the tone of the household. If you come in there having an attitude, yelling at everybody, rolling eyes, cussing folks out, the house is going to be, the whole energy is going to change. The spirit in the house is going to be, people, kids can be acting up all over the place. It's going to be chaos. That's that house dropping through. And by much slothfulness the building decayed. So I don't know if y'all ever heard this, but my grandmother used to tell me before she passed, um, that houses that didn't have people living in them would be the ones that decay. Literally, I didn't even know at the time. It was low key a scripture, high key a scripture, but I was like, wow. And it's like when you drive through, you know, most of the country. But you see like these abandoned houses and stuff like that, they literally be dropping through. The roof that caved in, you got pieces of the roof sticking up and, you know, windows busted out. It just looks crazy. But nobody's staying in it. Nobody upkept it. Nobody, was diligent to, okay, the roof got a leak. Okay, the roof is about to cave in. Let's go fix this. Let's go fix the floorboards, whatever the case may be. Slothfulness. Nobody's tending to it. Nobody's being diligent. Nobody's putting that discipline and work in to uphold that building. And we want to make sure that we're not only upholding our spiritual vessels, our spiritual building, you know, but also making sure that we are continuing to make sure that the things we have going on in our house are good as well. So spiritual and our physical house that the Most High has blessed us with. We want to make sure that we are being diligent and not being idle. So let's get this. That's all right. 33. So we want to make sure we're praying, fasting, reading, so that our spirit man doesn't get weaker and weaker and weaker, and the flesh rise up. And next thing we know, back in the world, and you have good time management. This is Sirach 33 and 27. "Send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil." So, labor is just what we have to go through in these bodies, from the time Adam and Eve, I mean, we had to labor. That was the curse that was placed on Adam. He had to labor, work for the food, and us constantly breaking the Most High's commandments, not listening to what He told us to do. And that caused us to have to be in the predicament we're in now, in captivity. So we have to labor. We have to labor, because when we don't labor, then we're idle. And then we got, these thoughts creeping in. And then we got, the lust of the flesh creeping in. Now we want to do what we want to do instead of what we're supposed to do. And we know that idleness teaches much evil. So They say it's a saying. They say I'm probably gonna butcher it, but they say like busy hands make a clear mind or something like that, or idle hands make a busy mind. It's something like that. I have to see if I can find it, but it's a saying like that. Basically, the more that you are busy, you're moving, you're working with your hands in righteousness, of course. The less you'll be subject to, even spirits of overthinking and, thinking about wickedness and going off and sinning. But the thing about it is, if you're always reading the words of the Most High, you listen to the videos, the breakdowns, you around righteous sisters, around your husband, having the godly discourse, you're teaching your children about the Lord, it's going to give very, very minimal time to let your thoughts think upon wicked things. So let me get this. Sirach 7 and 15. And it reads, hate not laborious work, neither husbandry, which the Most High hath ordained. So, just like I was saying in the previous precept, the Most High has ordained for us to work. He's ordained for us to work. And that might look different for different sisters, but we don't want to hate laborious work. We don't want to be, oh my gosh, why do I do this? Not having a good spirit about it, because ultimately, we deserve death. We deserve death. All the times that we've transgressed against the Most High, we've offended the Most High, we've offended others, this is nothing. And we really got it good compared to, our forefathers, even going back to just 1960s, 1950s. Our ancestors, they getting beat, whipped, men being one leg on one horse, one leg on the other, and they whipped the horses and split the men in half, and women getting babies cut out of them. I mean, what are we hating work for? I mean, we're not even close to being in those times that they were having to live in. Of course, we're still being persecuted. Our people are still being, wronged, unalived, trying to use my words wisely, by this wicked system in these nations, but it's not really that comparable to the things that, we've seen and we've heard and we've read about. So we want to hate laborious work. We want to do it with a cheerful countenance, ultimately living out our punishment. And I'm going to get this in Sirach 37. This is the last precept. And we're going to wrap it up. Sirach 37 and 27. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. So, to end it all, actually, I'm going to get 28 too. For all things are not profitable for all men, neither hath every soul pleasure in everything. So, that just comes with praying and fasting. Praying and fasting to the Most High and asking Him to reveal unto you what things, that we're doing that is not profitable to our walk. Asking the Most High, how can I improve my time management skills? Might be, okay, I'm on social media too much. Okay, I'm talking on the phone too much. I'm on the phone with my mama for 6 hours out of the day. But I could be using that time to read, to pray, to watch a lesson, whatever the case may be. I might be, I don't know, hanging out too much. I'm going this place, that place. You're everywhere, but you're not taking care of the home. You're not taking care of the children. You're not taking care of yourself, whatever the case may be. But we got to prove our soul in our life and see what is evil for it. Okay, look, you might be a sister. Okay, I'm watching too much TV. Okay, I need to take a break from TV for 2 weeks. I need to get my life together, get my house together, whatever the case may be. Okay, I'm doing too much talking on the phone. Okay, I'm gonna put my phone on do not disturb. I'm gonna make sure that I let people know, hey, I'm gonna be a little distant. I need to reset. get my life in order, whatever the case is. But we got to see what's evil for our spirit and give not that unto it. Because as soon as we give our spirit or our soul over to that evil thing, and it could be different for everybody, then that's when we start to stray away from the Most High. So, all things are not profitable for men. Let's see. I'm trying to go back. That's where we are. Because Lord willing, this was edifying. And y'all have a blessed rest of y'all Sabbath day. It's gonna be a short call today. Because, like I was telling the sister, we are congregating in Pensacola. I'm pretty much sorry. But anybody have anything? If not, I want to give all honor, glory, praise to the Most High God. Israel, call Yahweh now shy. And peace and blessings to you all. Shalom.